Now we officially have a new president of the United States, Joe Biden, new vice president, Kamala Harris. History was made. And, of course, to help us, unpack everything, as Ed Crack likes to say, I got to bring on my boy, NBC News correspondent, White House correspondent, Geoff Bennett, checking in.
Woo!
Good morning to you, Geoff.
Hey, good morning. How y'all doing?
Hey, we feeling real good. The HBCU pride is high. I know you're a graduate of Morehouse. How amazing was it to see Kamala Harris, a Howard University graduate, sworn in? Also, the HU marching band escorting her throughout the city. And the fact that she used Thurgood Marshall's Bible, I heard, when she got sworn in.
Yeah, she did. I mean, and look, and this is somebody, Kamala Harris, who started her campaign back when she was running for president in the image of Shirley Chisholm, right? I mean, she drew so much from everything that Shirley Chisholm meant. And then you're right, she got sworn in by Sonia Sotomayor, the first Latina Supreme Court justice, using Thurgood Marshall's Bible. So there was so much symbolism, and it was a big day for HBCUs. It was a big day for HU. It was a reminder to people all across the country that there's so much value in going to HBCUs, places that are set up really just for the success of young black people. And, you know, it was a big moment. And then, you know, Joe Biden talking about turning the page, talking about unity, really trying to erase the 4 years of a Trump era, politics aside, which have just been, you know, so much focused on division. And so, you know, Joe Biden has a lot of work ahead of him because there are a bunch of crises this country faces. You've got a pandemic, more than 400,000 American lives lost. You've got an economy with, you know, nearly 11 million people out of work. You've got now a crisis in our democracy after that insurrection at the Capitol. And you have racial and social inequity around every corner. So yesterday, Joe Biden signed a bunch of executive orders trying to tackle that. He's got more that he's going to do today about the coronavirus crisis. But I think yesterday, one of the things that you saw and heard was just a big collective sigh all over the country, because there was a sense that the chaos and the division that we saw under President Trump, that it just wasn't sustainable.
Now, Geoff, may I ask real quick, you know, like when you look at the narrative and the ripple effect that, you know, Kamala's, you know, vice presidency and also Barack Obama's presidency may have on the future youth, because, like, you know, if you look at this pocket of, like, you know, 20 years that we're existing in, you know, all the young kids are seeing is diversity. So how do you think that's going to change the outlook and the perspectives of people, you know, as they look at the possibilities of what can be? Yeah,
it's a great point. And there was a point yesterday where now Vice President Harris was coming down the steps, and she saw former President Obama, and they did like a little fist bump. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it's important. Representation matters. It's important for young black and brown kids to be able to look up in every aspect of American life, of every aspect of success, and see people who look like them. And beyond the symbolism, the substance matters too. It's important to have people in all the halls of power who have lived experience like us, right? People who can take into those meetings and can take into those decisions the concerns and the issues of communities where we come from. That's why, you know, politics and policy is important. Otherwise, folks get left out. And we know what happens when folks get left out because we've been seeing it, right? Mm-hmm. Black and brown folks have been shouldering the burden of coronavirus, have been shouldering the burden of this cratered economy. And stuff's got to change. I mean, people have been focused on Trump supporters for the last 4 years and beyond. And now I think it's time for people to focus on the concerns and the legitimate worries and the hopes and goals of people who elevated, you know, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
Moving forward now, we've got his first 100 days. The big thing is the vaccinations, and he's talked about how the whole plan was just not well thought out. What is Joe Biden's administration talking about in terms of getting people vaccinated within these first 100 days? He talked about 100 million vaccines in 100 days. Is that even possible is my question.
They say it is. The technical term for this whole process is a mess. It's just been a mess. The Trump administration, and this isn't a partisan statement, it's a statement of fact. The Trump administration, according to Biden advisors I've spoke to, did not do the hard work of getting a vaccination plan in place. What they did was, and they deserve credit for ramping up the production of an actual vaccine, but when it comes to getting that vaccine off the factory floor into a syringe and as a shot into somebody's arm, that's what the Biden team now has to do. And they're going to do it by working closely with states. The president has asked Congress to pass a nearly $2 trillion COVID relief plan that'll help pay for it. And in that plan is also an additional $1,400 for people who qualified, a direct payment, right? So that $600 that folks got would actually turn into a flat $2,000. And there's a whole bunch of other things he's trying to do too. He wants to have, like, you know, federally backed vaccination sites. So when it comes time to get a vaccine, people aren't running around trying to sign up on a website and trying to figure out, do I go to my doctor? Do I go to CVS? You could, if it all gets passed and put into place, just go to a big stadium in whatever city you live and get your shot there and go on about your day. And so there's a whole list. I mean, the Biden team says they have a plan, but what they need is the money to pay for it. And so he's going to talk more about that today.
Well, yo, Geoff with the G, appreciate you pulling up on us as always. If people want to follow you, man, and keep up with what you got going on, where can they go?
So I'm on MSNBC all day. I'll be on Nightly News with Lester Holt on NBC News later tonight, and then I'm on Twitter and Insta at Geoff R. Bennett, GeoffRBennett.
Geoff Bennett in the building. Thank you so much, my friend.
We are the Morning Hustle.